Welcome into our overtime segment here at SportsSource.tv. I'm joined by Chuck Cavaleris, VFL Bobby Scott, Josh Ward, VFL Sterling Hinton. I want to remind you this segment's always brought to you by Blue Smoke Cigars. They do an outstanding job. If you're a cigar aficionado, I enjoy a good cigar every now and then. It's a great place to go. They got a bunch of leather seats down there. They've got your own personal lockers down there for your smokes or your hooch. You've got the HD screens all over the place. You can have movies going, news going, games going, poker tables or card tables actually, and then you got the golf simulator. Not to mention a walk-in humidor of the best boutique cigars and name cigars in the country and the world. Blue Smoke Cigar. Gentlemen, I'm going to ask you about Tennessee and where it ranks as a job in the SEC in a second, but I want to get to two or three things that were sent in via Twitter. First of all, somebody said, do you think, and this seems like it's a little far-fetched to me, somebody said, do you think that John Currie is waiting, letting the fan base get mad because then he can step in as the hero because he knows he's got a big name? I don't think he would do that. Why would you ever want him to get mad at you in the first place? So I'll say no to that.
Yeah, I don't think he's hustling the fan base. I don't think that's what's happening.
No, that's not happening.
Call him, if it's true, we'll call him the hustler. Yeah. All right, nobody's buying that one. All right.
Don't you just think, John, it's a very uncomfortable situation all the way around, and you just kept hoping somehow it'd work itself out? And this is somewhere John Currie really hadn't been down this road, really, and certainly not at Tennessee.
Well, here's the thing. It has worked itself out.
I mean, for the other way.
Yeah. I mean, I keep getting people, we told you sucked in year one. Yeah, he didn't. That's just it. I keep hearing people, well, he's been trashed for 5 years. No, that's a small group saying that.
No.
You don't get into the top 20. There are 105 schools that would love to trade places with you when you're in the top 25 for 2 straight years. That's not suck. All right, now that may not be A, and that's not the goal, and we've said that for the last 4 years. But at the same time, this idea that, I've just been waiting. Well, you know what? If somebody had said the day Philip Fulmer was hired, they'll have losing seasons. Well, 12, 13 years in, they were right, so they could come back and say, told you. I'm just, he's not the imbecile they make him out to be. He's having a terrible year this year. And as I said last week, I've lost confidence. I went in this year thinking, if he goes 8-4, 7-5, you keep him, and then next year, it's do or die. You've got to get to the East. Because I thought the program would be solidified. You work your way through you get a new quarterback, you break in the new stuff this year, but it's the way you've gotten to this point. Worst home loss at Neyland Stadium, didn't score for umpteen quarters, which you finally snapped that yesterday.
Yes.
Losing to Kentucky, you didn't get to 7-5 or 8-4 the way I thought you would. So I've lost confidence in him. But that's not to say, oh, he's always been an idiot. No. And if you say that, you're just being a reactionary. If you say that, you're the same guy who would have said at Notre Dame, well, they need to fire Brian Kelly going 4-8. How would that work out for you? Because now he's in the playoff mix again. If you look at the body of the work and you look around the country, it's stunning this year to look at it. But overall, Butch Jones actually compares favorably with a lot of coaches out there, which when you start looking at resumes for who might replace Butch Jones, I think you're going to realize that, because 9 out of 10 of them are going to look at it and go, that's flimsier than what Jones had coming here.
Well, what's incredible, what I think was last year's coaching job, I just stood as there, I think that was an incredible coaching job last year. You got 22 people hurt on your team. We win like we did. Every other team in the country that had more than 10 players hurt had incredible losing seasons for the past 4 years. Florida was 4-8. They had just 15 players hurt. We had 22 players hurt. End of the year, 8-4, and won a bowl game.
And you're talking about the Muschamp year.
Yeah. And so, people have got to give credit where credit is due. It's an unfortunate situation happening right now that we're all emotionally attached to. But, now November's hit, and we still can sweep November.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on that. But I understand you saying it. It's possible.
You can also get swept in November.
Yeah. Well, as we said last week, you could run the table, or the table could run you.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's half full.
Butch Jones apparently, obviously we're doing a show right here, and at 9 a.m. when the show first airs, I'm not watching because I'm working on the show here. But Butch Jones apparently didn't wear his orange lapel, his Power T lapel pin Did you see that this morning, Chuck?
Yes, I did. Just had on the gray blazer with the orange pinstripes.
Does he
And
always
He
wear the?
probably
it seems like
just-
every time I've seen it, he said it on there right
He
here.
seems like
probably
that.
just forgot.
Yeah. So, but somebody's going to
He
read
sent
something
his-
into that.
He
yeah.
sent his jacket to the cleaners
Yeah, I
and
wouldn't.
forgot to put it on.
I wouldn't read anything into that.
No.
Well, that goes back to Derek Dooley, and when Derek Dooley was dismissed, he didn't have on his orange Tennessee power tee.
It's like the Tennessee Sentinel.
Wow.
It's like you can also watch if white smoke comes out of Ayers Hall, you'll know the new coach has been found.
It's Catholic.
You can tell when the old coach is gone.
Yeah.
The T disappears, the lapel pin. I wouldn't read too much
Amazing.
into that, but
Right.
all right. Somebody sent in the note. What do you think about hiring Josh McDaniel, going after Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator of the Patriots, Josh Ward?
Sure. Yeah, I think he's a really good coach.
You would really be torn.
No,
wouldn't you?
no college
Yeah.
history.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course not.
So it's just not gonna. It's not a realistic grab. Now I'll say this, and let me reiterate this: when they do make a decision, when they finally end this, we're gonna have a candidate list. Josh has seen it. Chuck's seen it. It's as long as your arm. It goes on forever.
Why come I didn't see it, man?
You'd share it.
It's top secret, man. It's top secret.
But anyway,
Good call.
it's
Find the
a-
league. Find the league. That's for sure.
Yeah, but once we get into it, we'll run through all those candidates and stuff. And the thing is, we've got a list, and we've got so many names on it. The reason is, I wanted to find some guys who would be no more bizarre or weird than Lane Kiffin was.
Yes.
I mean, when Philip Fulmer was fired, there weren't 5 people that would have said, "Oh yeah, next guy will be Lane Kiffin." That was just left field, and Curry was involved in that. So we will have some. If it's next week, we will talk about the good shots, the long shots, and the no shots. We'll be your place for candidate discussion. All right. Somebody says here, John Curry, and well, this is all over the place. Somebody says it here. They say it everywhere. Fire John Curry. It's gotten to the point now where, in his first 6 months on the job, they've passed Butch Jones. It's now fire John Curry, and every time he tweets anything about any other topic other than football, he gets bombarded with ugly tweets and gets cussed and made fun of. Do you think John Curry, he was here many years ago, he was here before social media, really exploded, before Twitter.
Right.
You think he knew what he was in for when he came here?
Silence. I think he knew what he was in for. I think this guy is a proven AD. I mean, he did great. He's
I'm
a
talking
proven
about
AD.
this. I'm talking about do you understand the rage factor? Because I've talked to people over there who say no. He was surprised at how hot it got so fast on Butch Jones.
Well, I have the pleasure of knowing him on a personal level. I think he's a man that can handle this situation and will handle it appropriately.
John, to
I got
answer
that
your
too,
question,
but-
I think he had to be surprised.
That's the
and we've
question.
talked
Thank you.
about the number of Tennessee fans on social media. And for him to walk into that, even on this show, when you had him on this show, remember, it was Butch Jones on the hot seat. That was silly.
Yep.
You know, well, no, it wasn't silly based on the certain set of situations unfolding that have happened. So I don't think he really could have known, not fully known, what he was getting into.
John, you remember a few months
It's not
ago?
an insult to the man, Sterling.
I
I mean, I don't think he would have expected that within 6 months he'd have a ton of people calling for his head. I just don't.
Or that he
You're
puts
right.
out about
Yeah,
a tennis match, or come watch this tennis match,
Yeah.
or whatever it was, and gets 400 negative tweets, or right away.
Yeah.
I mean, who
which
would
then
expect?
which then makes news, because whenever anything trends, this is how it works. Let me give you a thing on how this works here. Because hashtag vol Twitter, and you guys love it, and that's fine, and you blow it up. You do blow it up. So much so that you make anything Tennessee trend. Then you get all these websites that are looking for clicks. You get guys like Colin Cowherd and radio guys that want people to click on Twitter, follow my radio show. So how do you go find guaranteed clicks? Let's check Twitter and see what's trending. What fan base always goes nuts? Tennessee. So that's why you're always in the national news. And right now, the people who are the kill Butch Jones, fire Butch Jones, they're loving it because the national writers are saying, yeah, get rid of him. They didn't like it so much when it was the same national writers ripping them for the petition, which, again, why do it? Because Tennessee fans click, 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 click. They break their phone clicking. So that's how that works. And he did, maybe he should have known, based on the responses Beverly Davenport got on Twitter when she hired John Curry. But I don't think he did. I don't think he could have.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Actually, go back to day one, or it's even pre-day one when John Currie was actually hired, when John pulled up the screenshots of when Alabama and Florida introduced their new athletic directors from outside schools, and almost every single response was, welcome to Gainesville, welcome to Tuscaloosa, and the responses to John Currie were not quite as welcoming. And I would say that would be the first time that John Currie said, whoa, Vol Twitter sometimes can get a little edgy. So, and then go back then, it was not very positive that day. Then the Lady Vols name and branding is put back in, and the approval rating went way back up.
Yes.
And then a few weeks later, it's gone way back down. It fluctuates greatly for whatever reason at
Whatever
Tennessee.
the latest story is.
Yeah.
And then this football coach, the longer that drags out, it's just the word I would use. Well, I feel it too. I'm tired of talking about this. You know, I said, there's no need to rush in October. Let it get to the end of October. Give him those chances. He's not going to save himself, and then make your move. All right, you did all that. He didn't save himself.
And you're
Everybody
not ready
knows
to
he's
make a
gone.
move.
What the hell are you waiting for? Just announce it. It seems kind of cruel, to be honest with you. But the problem with the Curry stuff and with the reaction on Twitter and everything, it is to the point now where, you know, if he waits another week, then they're going to start calling for Davenport's head. Okay, if they're not going to get rid of Jones, you got to get rid of Curry. Well, Curry's not going to do it. Then we got to get rid of Davenport. I mean, that's kind of the mentality around here. If they don't do this soon, they're going to be calling for every head over there, which there's a group of Tennessee fans who do that anyway.
Yeah.
It's 365. But if they don't do something quick, I don't know if they understand how raw this place is. That's the word I would use, raw. Everything's just kind of raw around here right now. And I don't know if they understand just how raw it is. Bobby, what are your thoughts?
I think, I think they've got to go ahead and do something, fairly quick, just simply because there's other schools that are going to be looking for coaches, and if you have to take, second fiddle because you wasn't out front, then I think you got a problem.
But again, you can make all of those back channel connections right now. I mean, Texas last year, they fired Charlie Strong. The next day, they introduced Tom Herman. So clearly, they've been talking to Tom Herman and his representation. Now, we can question whether or not they are doing the back channel thing.
Well, if they are doing the back channel thing, that's to their, that's positive for them.
If they're doing it. It still doesn't help with the fan base, though, because it's back channel. Fan base wants some front channel at this point.
I would just say that, John, would you lead the show saying it's a matter of when, not if? When that day comes, I can assure you, John Currie's not jumping in, making his first phone call to somebody about what type of situation they're in. He's doing his job.
Yes, that's another one that gets thrown around a lot. They just don't care over there. They care. Yeah. I mean, they care. They wouldn't throw hundreds of millions of dollars at facilities if they don't care. Then people come back with the Clay Travis nonsense. Oh, yeah, you're talking about the juice bar. They got the juice bar over there. It doesn't help. Well, look, you might not like what they spend it on, but the idea that they don't care, they are spending the money. If they didn't care, they'd spend it on a new academic building over there and not on a football practice field. They've only got 26. They got a practice field for each individual player over there. It does them a whole lot of good.
I'd love a new juice bar, by the way.
A new juice bar. Yeah. Anyway, last question, very quickly. I put this up 2 weeks ago on Twitter, just an open-ended question. Where does the Tennessee job rank in the SEC? You'd be surprised at how many people said number one. All right. Realistically, if you're a coach, Sterling, if you can't answer it, don't say Tennessee's number one. Okay, so if that's where you're going to go, just sit there and smile.
Wow.
Because if you're a coach,
yes,
and you've got all these programs open at the same time, where do you go? Tennessee isn't number one, if for nothing else, just the recruiting base. It's improving.
Right.
It's not Florida. It's not Texas. It's not Georgia. Where does Tennessee rank 1 to 14? Who's it behind? Let's do it that way. It's behind Alabama.
Behind Alabama. I say it's behind Georgia.
It's behind Florida and
Behind
LSU.
Florida.
LSU.
And I would think A&M.
No.
I would.
Oh man, they got so much money, Sterling.
So you're
I would
talking
think
they got
about
oil
A&M.
money. They got an endowment that's just insane.
So you're talking about 6th.
Yeah, you're about 6th. I mean, you're about on par with Auburn, you would think.
And part of that's just It's no fault of your own. It's where you're located.
You're ahead of Mississippi State. You're ahead of Ole Miss.
I think you're ahead of Arkansas. You're ahead of Kentucky, Vanderbilt, obviously.
Yeah, so I mean,
South
about,
Carolina, you're
about
ahead of.
sixth, realistically, I think.
Yeah, I think I would tie them with Auburn right there.
Right.
And then the fact
And
that I
then-
may put them a little ahead of Auburn because at least you don't have the big bully in the same state with you.
Right.
And then if you go 10-2, you move. You know, you're going to move up. You know, to maybe third.
But
Does that really change the?
I think it.
I don't know if that
your
changes
record
the
would
job
change it.
though. Well, if it's over a long period of time. Well, okay. I think when Philip Fulmer had it, when Majors had it rolling, and then when Philip Fulmer had it rolling even higher, then you would have looked at Tennessee and said, well, it's a better gig than some
One
of
or
these.
two.
But right now, I don't see it. So, okay, who would argue with 6? 6 is fair, is it not?
6 is very fair. I was going to come at 6 or 7. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually think depending on the circumstance, you can argue from 4 through 7. And like a circumstance, I'm not very high on Joe Oliva as the athletic director at LSU. Big picture, just in general, I think LSU's the better job. But I think you would
Right.
argue.
Oh, yeah, I'm
depending on-
talking about, just make it like an IROC race.
Open everything up.
Yeah, if they're all open at once,
Yeah.
Yes.
and let's say it's an equal AD, so you're not weighing that into it. Just, you know, if Coach X could pick any of these, what order does he pick them in? And I think Alabama, you know, and here's the thing, we're talking about how successful it is in tradition. Alabama, I mean, they don't have the recruiting base that Georgia and Florida and Texas have, but at the same time, Alabama has done it not just under Saban. They had, I mean, you've got, what, 30 SEC titles in their history?
The resources are incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. And the money they spend on
Yeah.
it.
But to me, I think the key point here is it would be tough to say this is a top 5 job as we sit here today
Right.
in the SEC. It's tough to say that.
And to be 6th or 7th in the SEC, though, you're probably top 15 in the country. I don't think there's any question you're top 15 in
Yeah.
the country. Because if you get it rolling here, you've got the resources
Yeah.
here. It's just the recruiting base. That's really what eats into you, I think, a little bit.
I would also rather be in the East than the West. Coaching in
Right
the
now,
Eastern Division than the
Yeah.
Western Division.
If we're talking
Yeah,
this
but
moment.
again, yeah, that is right now.
Okay, guys, I appreciate it. Chuck, Bobby, Josh, Sterling, appreciate you. We'll see you. I'll talk to you on the radio on Friday on WNML. I'll see you next Saturday on Fox 43 at 10:30 a.m. for the preview show, the Sports Source Kickoff presented by Madisonville Marine. And then we'll see you right back here next Sunday at 11 to talk about Southern Miss or maybe candidates. We'll see what John Curry does this week. See you next week.